Okay, so for section 2.3, we're going to look at calculating the surface area of a prism. We'll focus on rectangular prisms and triangular prisms in section 2.3, and then in 2.4, we look at calculating the surface area of a cylinder. Because as I said, there was three main shapes that we focus on in grade 8. Before we go into reviewing area, I just wanted to go over the difference between area and surface area. So when we talk about area, we're looking at calculating the amount of space covered for two-dimensional flat surfaces. So I would say calculate the area of a triangle, calculate the area of a circle, calculate the area of the rectangle. With surface area, we're looking at calculating the amount of space that's covered by a three-dimensional object. So 3D solids. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll review how to calculate area, and then we'll look at calculating surface area. So area measures the amount of space that's covered by an object. Think of it as the size of the exposed surface. It's measured in square units, so centimeters squared or meters squared or millimeters squared, etc. We need to include that small 2 to indicate that it is square units. Let's review some formulas for some basic shapes. So when we have a square, all 4 sides are equal, and to calculate the area of a square, it's side times side. So area equals side times side, or we can say area equals side squared. For a rectangle, let's draw out a rectangle. So these 2 sides, we'll call it the width, are equal, and the lengths are equal. And to calculate this area here, we go area equals length times width. Okay, for a triangle, we have the base and we have the height. So these are always, the height and the base are always perpendicular to each other. This here looks like this is an equilateral or isosceles triangle, and I'll show you what it looks like in a right triangle as well, where we have the 90 degrees. So this here becomes the height, and this here is the base. And to calculate the area, for a triangle, it's base times height divided by 2. You should have seen that in previous years. And then last one, a circle. So I'm going to put a dot in the center and draw a line from the center to the edge of the circle. That's known as the radius. The distance from one edge to the other going through to the center is known as the diameter. And the formula for circle is area equals pi times r times r. And you guys will be in grade 9 soon, so how we would write this is, instead of r times r, we would say r squared. So area equals pi r squared. Okay, so let's practice here. You can pause it if you want to do these on your own. I'd like you to, well, actually I need to fill in the numbers, so we can just do this together. So we have a square here, and I'll tell you that the measurement of the side is 9 centimeters. So I want you to find the area. So we write out the formula. Area equals side squared. We plug in the value for side, which is 9 centimeters, which we will square, and we end up with 81 centimeters squared. So that's the area for the square, 9 times 9. Okay, question B is a rectangle, and it has a length of 15 millimeters and a width of 4 millimeters. So I would like you to calculate the area. So we start off by writing out the formula. Area equals length times width, and then we plug in the numbers. So our length is 15 and our width is 4. So those are being multiplied together. So we have 60 millimeters squared. And to calculate the area of this triangle, I'll give you the measurements. The base is 6 centimeters, and the height is, it's hard to see here, the height is 11 centimeters. So that's the height. Okay. So to calculate the area of the triangle, we use the formula from above. Area equals base times height divided by 2. Plug in the numbers. So 6 times 11 divided by 2. 6 times 11 is 66 over 2, which is 33 centimeters squared. So that's reviewing how to calculate the area for a triangle. And the last one, circle. We have a radius of 2 centimeters. So our formula is area equals pi times r squared. So pi times 2 squared. So we need to remember bed mass here. We do brackets, exponents first. So we have pi times 4. Now the value for pi is 3.14, but your workbook questions use, and I'll show you on my calculator, they actually use the pi key. So you want to find the pi key on your calculator. So pi times 4, and we get 12.6, rounded to the nearest tenth. So 12.6 centimeters squared. So I would like you to use your pi key when we are dealing with anything to do with circles or cylinders, because that's what we do in grade 9. So there's a review on area of some basic shapes, and on the back side we'll move on to surface area. Okay, so for surface area we are calculating the area of the entire area of the three-dimensional object. And what we do is we basically calculate each of the faces separately and add them up, and surface area is also measured in square units, so centimeters squared or millimeters squared, etc. So I've listed the steps here on how to calculate surface area. We draw the net of the object, or you can draw the faces if you don't want to draw the faces all joined together. Find the area of each face separately and then add them together. So I'll do two examples, a rectangular prism and then followed by a triangular prism. So with the rectangular prism, I'll start with calculating the area of the front. So what I usually tell students to do if they have trouble figuring out which number belongs to what I usually ask them to do is using a pencil. Here I'm just shading in the front. So this is the front that I've shaded in, and sometimes that helps the numbers to pop up. So I can tell that this is clearly 8 centimeters. the width here, and the length is 16. So that's our front. So I'll draw that out. So I'll draw the front face out and label it 8 by 16. So that's the front. And we know that the front is the exact same as the back. So I'll draw the back face as well. 16 by 8, and I can find the area. It's length times width. So 16 times 8, which is 128 centimeters squared. And I'll just write that in here. So 128 centimeters squared. That's the area. And the back is also then 128 centimeters squared. So that's the area here. So now that I'm done with the front and the back, I'll erase this. And let's do the top and the bottom. So I'll shade in the bottom here. Like I said, it helps the numbers to pop out. So you can see that it is 8 by 3 centimeters. So the bottom and the top will be the same. So the bottom is a square, or sorry, a rectangle, 8 by 3, and same as the top. Eight by 3, and the area is 8 times 3, which is 24 centimeters squared. And the bottom as well is 24 centimeters squared. Okay, so I'm on my way here. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 6 faces. And so I've done the front and the back, the top and the bottom, and then what's left is the 2 sides. So I'll do the same thing here, shade in the right side. And once again, by shading in, it sometimes helps the numbers, the dimensions to pop out. So this I can clearly see is 16 by 3. So the right side is 16 by 3, and the left side is also 16 by 3, which is 48 centimeters squared. So that's the area of the faces. And then to find the surface area, what I do is I add up all of the individual areas. So here, surface area equals 128 plus 128 plus 24 plus 24 plus 48 plus 48. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces. And if I add those up, they give me a total of 400 centimeters squared. So that is the surface area for that rectangular prism. And example 2 is a triangular prism. So we do the same thing. We'll draw the faces separately and add the areas. So I'll start with a triangular prism. We have the front triangle, and the back is also a triangle. So that's the front, and the back is also a triangle, and the measurements are the base is 7 and the height is 7. So the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2, which is 7 times 7 divided by 2, which is 49 divided by 2, so 24.5 centimeters squared. Okay, so the area of the front triangle is 24 24.5 centimeters squared. And they're the same size, the front and the back. So this is also 24.5 centimeters squared. Okay, and we have 3 faces left to do. So I'll erase this. And let's calculate the bottom here, which is a rectangle. So I'll just shade it in. So we have 7 by 2. So 7 times 2 is 14 centimeters squared. Erase the bottom. And then I'll do the side here, which is also a rectangle. And it has a measurement of 7 by 2 as well. So 7 times 2 is 14 centimeters squared. Okay, so I've done the front, the back, the bottom, and the side. And what's left then is this rectangle here. This, I'll call it the slant. And it has a measurement of 2 times 9.9. Multiply those together, we get 19.8 centimeters squared. Okay, so I've got my 5 faces of the triangular prism, and now what I need to do is add them all up. So the surface area equals 24.5 plus 24.5 plus 14 plus 14 plus 19.8 for a grand total of 96.8 centimeters squared. And that's it for today's lesson.